Greetings, fellow wizards, witches, and sorcerers. I'm Erik Goodwyn. I have got a doozy of a fantasy novel review for you today here at the Imaginarium with my own unique brand of additional Jungian psychiatry input because it's what I do. But first, a word from the sponsor of this video. Yeah, I don't have any sponsors. It's just me. So, about the way I will be reviewing books. I think way too many book reviews out there are just kind of one person's random impression, which is really not bad necessarily. But if you want to learn more about a book, I think you need more than that. So now, don't get me wrong, you're still going to get my random opinion because this is my channel. I get to do whatever I want here. But I would like for you to be able to come away with from a review with a good idea about whether or not you would like a book. And obviously, I would try to do that spoiler free. So I'm happy to do deeper dives into stuff, and I have done those, but the great and powerful algorithm in the sky doesn't seem to think anybody wants that. But hey, I'm here for you, not for the giant YouTube brain. So let's get into it. The weirdest fantasy novel of all time. It was described by critic and novelist and philosopher Colin Wilson as the greatest novel of the 20th century. It was a central influence on C.S. Lewis's space trilogy. And through him, it influenced Tolkien, who said he read the book with avidity. And if you know anything about Tolkien, that's like top tier level intensity from him. That's about as much as you're going to get. Clive Barker, we've heard of him. He called it a masterpiece, an extraordinary work. Michael Moorcock praised it. What is the novel then? This novel is called A Voyage to Arcturus by David Lindsay, a Scottish author who first published it in 1920. It's about an interstellar voyage. And this is the framework for a narrative of a journey through a number of fantastical landscapes. It's set on the planet of Tormance, which is an imaginary place orbiting Arcturus, which in the novel is a binary star system consisting of the stars Branchspell and Alpine. The lands through which the characters travel represent these systems or states of mind, as the character, whose name is Maskell, kind of works through what he thinks the meaning of life is. It is wild. It is absolutely wild. It bombed in Lindsay's lifetime, but was republished in 1946 and has been republished many, many times after that. It's one of these books that just people were just not ready for it when it came out. Like I mentioned earlier, Michael Moorcock said that he felt like it was extremely influential and had a very powerful commitment to what he called the absolute. So what is this book about, really? Well, Tormance is this planet that's orbiting the double star Arcturus. And there's a large star and a smaller star. The light of the second sun is to the north, and the southern countries are illuminated by the other star, the large one named Branchspell. So Maskell, our main character, we don't know a whole lot about him, other than he's just kind of a big guy and he's interested in adventure. He gets this invitation from this character named Crag, who is a friend. And his friend, another character named Nightspore. Yeah, the names are already bizarre. So they go to a seance, and from the seance, they learn that they need to travel to Tormance and the system of Arcturus. This is all set in Scotland. So they go to this abandoned observatory, and before he even gets into this crystal torpedo, which gets him there, he's already experiencing the heavy gravity of Tormance somehow. And he also learns at this point that if he wants to go there, he'll not be able to return. So he gets into this torpedo, and the Arcturian back rays fling him across the galaxy and across the universe onto this planet. So without getting too heavy into the details, let me just give you a feel for the beginnings. All this happens very quickly because the bulk of the story is really about his journey across Tormance. Now, once he's there, he realizes that his body has grown a tentacle from his heart, which is called a mang. And there's this organ there called a brev. And he runs into this female, presumably, character named Joywind and exchanges blood with him so that he can survive on torment. Somehow that works. And she tells him that this character named Surtur created everything. And she worships this character, Surtur. If you know anything about Norse mythology, Surtur is the name of a fire giant who is instrumental in wiping out the universe at Ragnarok. Although Lindsay doesn't mention this. Anyway, her husband, Joywind's husband, suggests that Maskell stole something from the maker of the universe to ennoble his fellow creatures. So he journeys across this bizarre landscape into all sorts of just totally weird adventures. Just let me give you a couple of tidbits here about the setting. So there's an alien sea with water that's so dense that it can be walked on. There's another type of water called Naul water, which sustains food and life all on its own. Even light and colors there are different. There's two new primary colors that are unknown on Earth called Ulfire and Jael. And there's another new color that's a combination of them called Dolm. Lots of characters have shifting gender presentations. They can go back and forth. And Lindsay actually coined a gender neutral pronoun before all of that was going on. And so characters come and go. They show up and they have a few things to say and then they die. And all this has happened in the service of this journey across these various progressively more and more bizarre landscapes. As I mentioned earlier, this has been very influential. Like C.S. Lewis felt, in his words, he called it shattering and intolerable and irresistible. He even mentioned this thing that happens in the book called zorbing, where you absorb another personality into your own, which fatally destroys the other person. Tolkien said in his letters that he read it with avidity and power, felt like it was very powerful, but less of a story than Lewis, some of Lewis's own work, for example. He didn't think it would be of any interest to anyone who didn't have an interest in philosophy, religion, or morals. And I think that's probably pretty accurate assessment. What's my random take? Well, I think the story is incredible. I mean, it's absolutely mind-bogglingly powerful in terms of the imagery and the sheer imagination that went into it. I have tremendous respect for that. On the downside, though, I mean, if you're into that, I mean, it's worth it just for that, in my opinion. But some people, I think, will not connect with it much because the characters are really more symbols than they are real characters. There's not a lot of real like humanity to these characters. They're more like dream images, which again it could be appealing to some readers. The story itself has a very intellectual appeal. I think it doesn't have a whole lot of emotional connection because there's so much bizarre stuff happening. It's fascinating from that point of view and can be emotionally involving from the point of view of a mind expanding experience, maybe. And just sheer unfettered nature of the imagination on display here. It's also very dreamlike. So I would give it 5 stars out of 5. I really, really liked it. But I do think it would have maybe gained, in terms of its overall appeal to a larger audience, I think it would have been more appealing if it had been more of an actual story and not such a dense allegory. There are a lot of philosophical ideas here, a lot of intense metaphysical and moral ideas here. There's quite a bit of Gnosticism in this that I see when I was reading it. And I can't really get into all that without doing a lot of spoilers. But anyway, it is fascinating, and honestly, it is the weirdest thing I have ever read or have even heard of. And it just hits you nonstop, one thing after another of something new and weird and bizarre happening. So it's always at least interesting from that point of view. But many readers, I think, will find it difficult to connect with, basically just because of those very strengths that it has. So that's what I've got for you today. I do have some upcoming stuff going on. I've got a lecture coming up later on this week. It's to the Thiassos group of Jungians in Sao Paulo, Brazil, about my nonfiction work, a Jungian analysis of toxic modern society. And of course, don't forget to pick up a copy of King of Forgotten Darkness, first book in the Raven's Tale series. The link is below. Don't miss out on that. I am going to be trying to set up some book signings, and we'll see how that goes. I'll let you guys know. Until then, I will see you next time.